We got street cleaning. We get our garbage picked up. What the heck's wrong with these people that live in Oakland? Richmond. What's Richmond like?
I don't really go to Richmond.
All right, who knows Richmond, California? It's another center of poverty, right? Is it, Martha? Describe it.
It's an old industrial land. It was developed by Kaiser Steel back when in the war. So there's old Navy bases, but there's incredible pockets of poverty that are mostly African American and Latino, and increasingly Southeast Asian.
Right. That's true of Oakland, and it's true of Richmond. These are the two stepchildren of the Bay Area. Well, there may be some others, but those are the two big ones. Two big stepchildren. People say to me, I don't want my kids going into Oakland because it's a mess. People with guns. 40% unemployment among African American males. 40%. Now, are all African American males in Oakland you think stupid?
No.
All right. Do you think that some of them might have skills?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you can't do a damn thing about it unless you begin to say, what are the policies and practices that are creating this disparity? What's creating this disparity? Now let me give you an example. Martha and I were just talking about it. There is a group in the Bay Area. It's called the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. You know them, right? And they make all the decisions about transportation, but they also make decisions about land use. They can decide whether your neighborhood becomes poor or not, depending on where they put highways, where they invest in transportation, where they invest in land use. Right? They operate only like $203 billion. That's what they manage. Now, Obama sends in a chunk of money in February, last February, and he said to all communities, be careful of this stimulus money I'm sending. Make sure that it's spent correctly, right?
Yes.
Make sure it's spent on the people it's intended for. 225 million of the big chunk of money that comes into the Bay Area is for transit. And the transit systems cheered. They said, oh my God, thank you. Because the state of California has now cut transportation funding 100% out of the budget. So they were happy that they were going to get this windfall of $225 million. But the Metropolitan Transportation Commission said, we don't want that to go to transit. We want to build a ski lift between the airport and the BART. So when Mary Gonzalez flies into Oakland, she doesn't have to take that silly shuttle. She can get on this fancy thing and it'll get her to the BART station in no time flat. And she won't have to see people of color. She won't have to see poor people. She won't have to deal with any of that. We're going to go right over that poor black community. Never stop. 225 million will generate another 300 million, 400 million, and we're going to build this thing. The carpenters cheered. Why did the carpenters cheer? Why do you think? Because they're out of work. Because the housing stuff has crashed. So the carpenters, who are good allies of ours, they cheer. The transit union workers, what do they say? They're in trouble. Because now the 225 million, which was intended for transit, is now going to a ski lift. So what cost will that be to the transit? They're going to lose jobs, right? They're going to lose lines. Now, who rides buses? All over any region. Who rides the buses? Poor people, children, the elderly, immigrants. They ride the buses. Wealthy people are riding their cars, right? The poor ride the buses. So our organization immediately moves in and says, you can't do this. And we put up a good fight for about 30 days. And immediately 155 million moves over to transit. So we said, well, that's okay. We want that last 70. And they said no. Now, we go to these meetings, they're obnoxious at the leaders. They roll their eyes. They're insulting to the leaders. They treat the leaders as though they have no right to come before them and ask them for anything. After all, the money only belongs to the people, right? But anyway, we continue, and they just ignore us. So we create allies. We align ourselves with other groups. And then we align ourselves with a big public interest law firm, and we file a complaint, a Title VI civil rights complaint, which has not been done. And we file this with the federal government and say these people are non-compliant because they refuse to look at how this project will impact low income and minority people. And the MTC said, this group is frivolous. This is silly. And we won. So now all money has gone to transit. But here's the interesting thing for me, that now that MTC can never again create a project without an assessment of the impact on low income and minority people. The mayor got very upset. He met with us immediately. He was very angry. He said, this is jobs for the Bay Area. I wanted this project. We argued with him that if he fought for civil rights over the long haul, it was going to be good for everybody over the long haul. He argued he needed the jobs immediately. All right? We disagreed. So he said, I'm going to Washington. I'm going to talk to Secretary LaHood myself. He's a personal friend of mine. He went to Washington. And he spoke to Secretary LaHood himself. We still won. Why? Why do you think we still won? Why do you think we still won? I wasn't sure, certainly we put a lot of pressure, but they could have beat us. Why did we win?
Was Washington more on your side?
Why?
Because we had Obama in office. And
Thank you. Because Obama's in office and he said civil rights will be upheld. But one of the things he said when he was running for office, he says, I cannot do it alone. I need partners in these communities. If you don't protect these stimulus dollars, I can't be everywhere. So because we stepped in to protect the stimulus dollars went where they were intended to go, right? Instead of somewhere else. So now we begin to understand. So why is Obama really failing?
because we're failing.
Pardon?
Because we're failing.
Because we're sitting on our butts getting fat. Because you're sitting on your butt getting fat. Because you're not agitating other students to say, what role are we going to play out there? Let's go out and have some conversations with some people. See what way Occidental can play a role in this community. This is ridiculous. Obama can't do it by himself. We didn't elect him to solve the problems of the world. Right? We elected him to partner with him to change the world. How are we partnering? Right? So is it tough to try to figure out how to partner with Obama? It is. Very tough. Because he's way over there in Washington. But I tell you, he's feeling lonely. About 6 months ago, one of our coworkers, because we knew Obama and worked with him well, gets a phone call from the White House. Mike, you have to come to Washington on Thursday because the president wants to see you. Mike says, what about? We don't know. President said you should come, be here by 8 in the morning, be prepared to stay all day. We don't know what time you'll see him. So that's on a Thursday. On Friday, I'm on the phone with Mike. Mike, did you go? And he said, you know, Mary, he said it was like an out-of-body experience. I knew the moment I would arrive at the gate of the White House that my name would not be on the list, that I just had a dream. He said, and I arrived at the gate of the White House and my name is there. He said, the next thing you know, I'm sitting outside of the Oval Office. He said, you know those people you see on television every day? I said, yeah. They were running past me, stopping to greet me, and I'm thinking, this isn't real. And then the doors open, and there's Obama. And I go in, and he introduces me to his photographer. I got pictures on my phone I got to show you. Right? And by the way, the Oval Office is real deep yellow, as if I needed that detail. So what do you think I asked Mike? What did he want? Tell me. Stop giving me the details about the color of the Oval Office. Tell me what Obama wanted. And he said all he wanted to do was talk. What? He was just asking, what are you guys doing? What's going on in the communities? What are people saying? He just wanted to talk. So now I'm disappointed. I mean, I thought he was going to ask him for big advice on some military thing or economic thing. And he said, you know, Mary, I think he's feeling very isolated.